All right. Welcome to the show. This is the Frankly Fantasy Football Podcast. We are your hosts, Frankie and Johnny. How you doing, Frankie? What's happening, man?
I'm doing great, baby. Hold on. I want to show everybody a little something what I got on here. A little bit of fantasy, a little bit of football, a little bit of a legend. Shout out to Sean Hickey.
Frank, you are.
Appreciate that, John. Appreciate that, Guys, I ended up playing the number one guy in both of our leagues. He beat my ass in one league. I mean, it was embarrassing. My guys, I'm going to have to have a stern talking. But the other game, baby, came in with fire in my asshole. And I beat his ass, dude. So I had to wear the shirt.
Fire in your asshole. Sounds like you had Chipotle for lunch then, huh?
Sure did. And it sure was what you think.
Now, I've got I'm still in mountain man mode. I'm on vacation in Sedona, Arizona. Still here. Thought I'd wear my mountain man hat, my Indiana Jones hiking hat, Got the
good.
Orange dust all over my boots. Got my manly beard growing out. Yeah, man, I think I may stay out here and kick back and whittle a bit,
Why not? Whittle on your sticks and with your magnesium lights.
Don't be whittling my stick, man. That's not exactly what I'm doing out here. I mean, I have, but not all the time. Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is our Thanksgiving episode. A little longer episode. We're just doing one this week. So we're going to try to get in as much information as we can to everybody. We're going to be getting into our starts and sits for the week. We're going to review. We've got 3 games on Thursday, and we have a game on Friday. You know what? The NFL is so goddamn greedy, man. They're like, you know what? There's actually a day this week we don't have football on TV. We should just do something about that. Amazon's pissed off because they don't get their Thursday game, so they got to throw it over to Friday and let us piss off our wives and children and families for one more day during the holiday.
First time in NFL history. They'll be played on a Friday. Yeah. First time. The day after Thanksgiving. Black Friday game, baby.
Yeah. Love it, man. That's interesting. So we're going to go through those games. We're going to go through our starts and sits for the Sunday and Monday games. Then we're going to get into some playoff schedules. We want to show you guys some guys. Your trade deadlines are coming up. Take a look at some of these players who have just great playoff schedules. Maybe you can make a little swap, even a 1-for-1 trade, just to get a guy who's number one, his bye isn't in week 13, and also has a great playoff schedule. So you got to do some of these little things here if you want to make it into those playoffs, or you want to set yourself up for a damn great championship run. But as always, of course, we're going to get into a little news here, man. Let's see what's going on.
The season has begun. Listeners don't expect
News and notes. Okay, Luke Musgrave, tight end for the Green Bay Packers, suffered a significant abdomen injury. He actually went into the hospital. He was released the next day. Hasn't practiced on Tuesday. Doesn't sound really good. They're saying it was a significant abdomen injury. So keep an eye on that and see what's going on with him. He may not play this week. Kyren Williams, running back for the Los Angeles Rams, back off the IR. He is expected to return this week. And I'll tell you what, I'm fully confident that he plays this week because they just waived Darrell Henderson. Mm-hmm. So you don't get rid of some shit if you need it. Again, we talked about Kyren Williams, really good schedule coming up here. If you can get him. You should have tried to get him last week or the week before, knowing he was coming off of IR. But this is a guy that's got a fantastic schedule moving forward. Michael Thomas, wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints, going on IR. He's done. He's not going to be fantasy relevant for you. Aaron Jones, running back for the Green Bay Packers, likely out on Thursday. There's no chance he plays. MCL sprain. Thank God it's just that. It looked really bad. He got carted off the field with the towel over his head. Never a good sign. But he's going to be out. It's probably going to be a few weeks. Keep an eye on that. How do you feel about A.J. Dillon moving forward? Is he just kind of like, or is it a smash play? What do you think about that moving forward, Frank?
It's kind of like an John, if I'm being honest with you. And it's just because it's not the same skill set of Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is an elite pass catcher, in my personal opinion, and is a shifty back and does an excellent job. And so A.J. Dillon's the bruiser between the tackles. Yeah, he can catch the ball as well, but it's just different. So for me, man, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think this is going to be a little bit more on Jordan Love. If anything, it could open him up to passing the ball a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, definitely A.J. Dillon, though, is not a guy, like when I say he's not a guy that you want to discredit by any means. So if it's a good matchup coming up, I mean, it's definitely somebody you can plug in your flex, especially with bye weeks next week and on week 14, John. So it's going to be pretty crazy, man. But yeah, it's definitely a guy that you might be able to play in the future, but I wouldn't say it's going to drastically increase his stock.
No, he's not a smash play. These next 2 weeks, when I would expect Aaron Jones to be out, at Detroit and at home versus Kansas City, very difficult teams to run against, man. I mean, DeAndre Swift had really good luck on Monday night, but that's the Eagles. You know, they're not worried about Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and all this. But the Packers, it's a different scenario. They know they're going to have to run the ball. That's going to be difficult, man. Okay, let's see. Still unsure about Justin Jefferson. Are they just being overly precautious here?
No, I genuinely think that he's not going to play this week. Why would you have him play this week? I mean, your bye week is in week 13. Why risk it at this point in time? You guys are John, the Vikings are actually making a serious push to be in the playoffs. And so just chill one more week. Don't fuck it up. Let him go into the bye week, get super healthy and come back. So for me, man, no, I don't think this is a head game thing. I don't think this is them teasing. I think it's genuinely Justin Jefferson truly wants to make sure he's 100%, because the other thing that's factoring into this, guys, is contracts. So his contract is going to be coming into play. So if he walks in hurt or whatever it is, or drastically re-injures something, it could play into a little bit negative side of that. So for me, man, I think it's totally chill out, wait till after the bye.
Kenneth Walker III, KW3. He's going to miss some time with an oblique injury. Here's the Kenneth Walker thing. We were just talking about this on a recent podcast. Guy's been great, but yeah, he will miss some time. He will miss some time for sure. Seahawks are unsure of his timeline, but they're saying he's not an IR candidate. So we're probably looking at a couple of games here. Zach Charbonnet, how do you feel about him moving forward? Is this a fire him up and feel good, or is it kind of an A.J. Dillon situation? What do you think?
John, I got to be completely honest with you. I actually think that this is a little bit worse than the A.J. Dillon situation. And for the subtle reason, I think that Zach Charbonnet is a better back. I don't think that there's a question for that. Here's the problem. They play the San Francisco 49ers. They then play the Dallas Cowboys at Dallas. They then come back and play the San Francisco 49ers at the San Francisco 49ers. Then they go and play the Eagles. And then they play at Tennessee and then Pittsburgh. John, that is an ugly, ugly schedule. So for me, man, yes, he's a good back. Yes, he's going to get the ops. The problem is the defenses that they are playing are excellent, not just good, excellent. So it's a little bit tough, man. It's good to see Zach Charbonnet getting the opportunity. It's bad that the schedule is allowing this step to come to fruition.
Yeah, man. I mean, looking at this, yes, here's the situation. If you haven't done it already, you're going to pay money for Zach Charbonnet on the waiver wire.
Yeah,
just because
totally.
you have to. He's a starting running back. There is garbage on the waiver wire. But yeah, man, I mean, you're doing it as a depth piece for an injury. You don't want to play him, but you might have to. That's the key. But yeah, I mean, you look at that schedule. Every single game is a terrible matchup from here to the end of the year for all Seattle Seahawks, in my mind.
Every single one.
Yeah, I mean, really, where this could help is DK Metcalf. We saw DK healthy. We saw what he could do this past week. Tyler Lockett's been banged up. I think DK will be okay, but I think really he's going to be the only one, man. I mean, I would be sitting Geno Smith. If he's your number one quarterback in a single quarterback league, look for streaming options now or make a trade. Get somebody else. It's just going to be really, really difficult. It's a very unfortunate end to the season here. And as far as Charbonnet, these next three games, like you said, 49ers, Dallas, 49ers. Oh,
There's been a tougher stretch than that, John.
That's rough. That's really, really rough. Yeah. All right, let's move on here. Cooper Kupp. This one was a little scary here. Cooper Kupp is day-to-day with a low ankle sprain. Thank God it's a low ankle sprain. I saw him lying on the bench, hands over his face, and he was in pain. I went, oh, God, here we go. That was it. But it's a low ankle sprain. He's day-to-day. They have not ruled him out. We're recording this on Tuesday, so he has not been ruled out yet. But keep an eye on him. If he doesn't go, oh, my God, Puka Nacua. What a great matchup that's going to be for him. Yeah. Little hey, the chicken on the raft.
Hey.
That's right. All right, Pete Carroll, coach of the Seattle Seahawks, optimistic about Geno Smith playing Thursday. Geno had an elbow injury here, but they're pretty confident that he's going to be playing on Thursday. Jets. Jets. Oh, hey, way to go, guys. Way to make a decision, finally, right? Jets to start Tim Boyle over Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is now moved to the QB3. They fucked this all up, didn't they, Frankie?
Totally.
Yeah.
They fucked it up so bad. This is a masterclass of what not to do. At this point in time, why not just play it out with Zach Wilson? Like, why not just throw everything at the book at this kid and truly see if there's any shining light here? The problem with this is Zach Wilson, John, I was telling you this, before we even got on today. Yeah, he's played bad. I've seen worse. I really have seen worse quarterback play. And what this shows me is that they did not do a good job at the trade deadline. Number one, to get another offensive lineman or even a viable backup quarterback. And number two, John, what this is saying is you plug any quarterback behind that shitbag offensive line, they're going to be screwed. They're going to be absolutely screwed. This offensive line is falling apart at the seams. Zach Wilson has no time whatsoever in the pocket. And even when he does, he's struggling to read. So, John, you're putting in a Tim Boyle guy that's coming in. And yeah, he already played under Aaron Rodgers, or with Aaron Rodgers, should I say, at the Packers. So there's some familiarity there. That's probably why they're rolling with him. But the reality of the situation is they screwed this situation up so bad. And the funny thing is they're still not out of the playoffs. That's what's crazy about all this. They're still in the hunt. And so for me, man, it's almost like, why not just stay in the flames with Wilson, figure out your offensive line, and just hand the ball off to your two bell cows, which you haven't at all. You're not handing the ball off at all to Dalvin Cook, and you're barely utilizing Breece Hall to the level of what he could be. So for me, man, it's a shit show across the board other than the defense. The defense is incredible. The offense couldn't be worse, man.
I'm selling Jets. I mean, Garrett Wilson is a should I start or not candidate at this point.
Totally.
I mean, he's definitely a streamer at this point. You can't just fire Garrett Wilson up. And Breece Hall, I was talking with you prior to the podcast here. I'm going to make a move to try to move Breece Hall. I love Breece Hall. I think he is a league winner. But with their schedule and with what's going on with the Jets, I'm nervous about Breece Hall. You have to rely on him. And luckily, he's the kind of guy you can rely on to bust out a 50-yard run and score a touchdown. But that's kind of what has to happen. He's pulling it together right now. It's like CMC without all the touchdowns, where he's getting 50 yards rushing and he's getting 50 yards receiving and a handful of catches. It's because the quarterbacks and the offensive line sucks and they're dumping it off to him. You can't rely on that. These good teams are just going to say, we're just going to take Breece Hall out of the game and let's see if O'Boyle can make anything happen. O'Boyle does not rule, guys. This guy sucks. There's a reason why he's backing up Zach fucking Wilson, okay? Jeez. All right, enough of the Jets. No more news there, man. All right, Devon Achane. This one was so disappointing. Oh, my God. Looking into it, I know. Now, looking into it, it's not as bad as everyone thinks. He came down on it kind of hard. He was politicking, trying to get back in. Yeah. He was trying to make a case to get back in. And Coach McDaniel said, no, we're not taking a chance. We need you healthy. We don't need you in this game necessarily. That's a good thing. I was really nervous. He hurt it again and is going to be out for a few more weeks. He should play this week. Mostert's a little banged up as well. So he does play. It could be really nice. But yeah, everybody can relax and cool on Achane. He's going to be fine. He should play this week. So just wanted to give everybody that update here. All right. Let's get to, we got some ice and fire going on, and we changed that up a little bit, and we've been kind of calling it our land of misfit toys here during the holidays. So let's see what guys did really well and what guys took a shit. And we're going to see what Frankie thinks we should do with these guys moving forward. Welcome to the island of Misfit Toys.
Oh, Charlie, that's why I'm a misfit toy. My name is all wrong. No child wants to play with a Charlie in the box, so I had to come here.
Where's here?
We're on the island of misfit toys.
A Charlie in the box. All right, man. On ice here. Let's see some of these misfit toys, man. Kenny Pickett. Yeah, and you know what I forgot to bring up in the news? They fired Matt Canada. The Pittsburgh Steelers fired their OC, Matt Canada. I do have to say it. I don't want to bring this up because I know my brother gets really upset with me. I know you got upset with me. I'm at the Steelers game with my Steelers gear on. The very first play from scrimmage. It's a run play. They run, they get stuffed. Chance of firing Matt Canada. First play from scrimmage in the game.
That's gold. That's gold.
It's like a thing that they have where they're just always fire Canada. I mean, they just constantly. Steelers fans, they fired Canada. Since 2020, he's been there. The offense has not been good since Big Ben left. Now we can see, is this really a Kenny Pickett issue or is it a Matt Canada issue? I don't know what to predict. I don't know what to expect, but I'm hoping that there's a slight bump for Kenny Pickett and George Pickens potentially, and Deontay Johnson, who got, I think one catch last week, something crazy. All right, Kenny Pickett on ice once again, 106 yards, blah, 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 2 points, no good. Moving forward, do we just need to see more before we make any decisions? I've got the Pickett Pickens stack, Frank, in my super flex. I haven't played Pickett or Pickens in probably 5-6 weeks. Is it going to get better for me? What do you think?
John, yes, I do. I do think it's going to get slightly better. I don't think it's going to get drastically that much better to where you're going to be like, yeah, I got to fire him up for sure. The reason why I say it will get better is because they're going and playing the Cincinnati Bengals. They do have a good defense, so that's going to be a little bit tough. But then they have the Arizona Cardinals, New England Patriots, and then they end up having, the Colts, which are tough, but then they have the Bengals again. And so, John, this is tough because it really depends on the OC. I'm not super high on Pickett, though. Like, moving forward for the rest of this year, he's going to have to prove a lot. I think what the shift happens is I think they feed the living hell out of Jaylen Warren. And so that's where I think the value is. And what's interesting, great call on the Matt Canada firing. First and foremost, man, before we dive in even further, did you know that was the first time since 1941 that the Steelers fired a coach mid-season? First time since 1941 that they fired a coach mid-season. And in 1941, when they did, it was actually the owner who fired himself. That is the entirety of what the Steelers have had. So it's been gold. So you know what, Steelers fans that are listening here, and I know a few, shout out to you. The Browns broke you, and I'm fucking happy about it. We broke you. Welcome to the fucking show. Sorry, I had to say.
Hey, you break it, you buy it. So I guess we own you now.
We do,
right?
What? Whoa. We own you. I never thought about it like that.
Stop it.
We won one win. One win.
Yeah, we actually split this year. They won the first game. I know. We're assholes. God forbid the Browns ever win the Super Bowl because we'll be the biggest dickhead fans you'll ever see. All right, let's get through some other shitbags here. Zach Wilson, don't need to get into that anymore. 4 points. He's done. DTR, rough game. He came through. He did what he had to do. Got the win. But not great, man. He threw the 24 for 43 for 163 yards and a pick, 6 points. Not great. Najee Harris. Okay. Are we pretty much done with Najee Harris, or is it kind of an emergency start at this point? 35 rush yards, one catch, 4 points.
It's an emergency start for me, John. I'm not 100% out on Najee. I mean, the Browns defense was just incredible. I mean, outside of that long run that Jaylen Warren had, Jaylen Warren was eating a little bit. I'm not going to lie. He looked like kind of like a mini Chubb. I've got to give him credit where credit's due. But Najee looked bad. But for me, I'm still not 100% giving up on him because this new OC could come in. It's definitely going to be Jaylen Warren, but it could absolutely be Najee maybe around the goal line. So it could be similar, a very much lesser version of a David Montgomery and a Jahmyr Gibbs type of thing. But John, I think you can start fading Najee Harris.
Yeah. Think of him as Jalen Warren the first 5 weeks of the season, maybe.
Exactly. That's a great way to think of it.
He's going to get in there. He's going to get something. It could be a touchdown around the goal line, maybe a couple of catches, but he's not going to be fed like a beast. Jalen Warren, it seems they're going to be feeding him moving forward. Great start moving forward, by the way, Jalen Warren. All right, let's talk about a couple other guys. Keaton Mitchell. Okay, we talked about this. We talked about these Ravens running backs. Keaton Mitchell, 4 points, 33 rushing yards. Moving forward with looking at this week, next week with the Ravens running backs here, they've got some good matchups coming up. What are we doing with these guys?
John, it's tough. I mean, last week we were saying, probably not Gus Edwards. It's probably going to be Keaton Mitchell by the way he's been performing. And here it was Gus Edwards. And so, John, it's truly a toss-up. It's absolutely a toss-up between Gus Edwards and Keaton Mitchell. I don't think you can start Justice Hill. I think he's slowly losing more and more time. So if you have him, God bless you, but it ain't going to be happening. So for me, man, they're playing where are they at this week? They're playing at that of the Chargers. So it's an interesting matchup. It's a good matchup, right? Joey Bosa's hurt, right? They're a little bit banged up in the secondary. So yeah, man, but you're taking the risk. You're taking the risk. You're playing Russian roulette with this backfield. So for me, right, knowing everybody's vying and trying to get into the playoffs, if I had Keaton Mitchell and Gus Edwards, I might really look to start both of them. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I don't have both, I'm saying if I have one or the other, but I think you probably need to start both at this point in time.
Yeah, it's almost Keaton Mitchell's like not as talented, obviously, or that much of a phenom, but it's almost like the Devon Achane situation.
Totally.
You got this really fast guy who gets zero volume, but he seems to do a lot with it. But like I said in the past, can you rely on a guy getting the ball like 5 times? I mean, no, you really can't. You have to break out one of those big plays. So I think this week, if you're just decimated in injuries, there's no buys this week, thank God. But if you're desperate for a running back, I think you can start Keaton Mitchell. I don't know how you can expect a ton because of the volume, but they may get ahead in this game. This defense is not typically very good against the run at all. I think Gus Edwards is a smash play this week, though. Mm-hmm. I really do. He's going to get the volume. He had 2 touchdowns last week, 12 carries. He was the running back 3 last week. He's the running back 6 on the year right now, Gus Edwards. Quietly. Yeah, quietly. But they trust him the most. So I do think Gus Edwards is the guy moving forward for now. They got a bye week next week. That could all change after they do a little more research. King Henry, man. Yeah, Derrick Henry. The weather must not be getting cold enough for him yet for the Yeti here because he usually turns it on at the end of the year. But only 35 yards rushing, less than 5 points. Austin Eckler had a rough game, man. Just didn't look good. Looked kind of slow. 5 points for Austin Eckler. Josh Jacobs. I mean, these are all first-round running backs that you took here, man. And these guys all struggled this week. 39 rushing yards out of Josh Jacobs. Garrett Wilson, really rough game. Again, I don't,
Negative.
if you can sell them. Yeah, negative points, -1. If you can sell them, sell them. I don't even know if you can. I think it's just going to be a matchup based, maybe week 13 and 14 because there's buys. You can fire him up, but man, it's just brutal moving forward. Hollywood Brown. This is disappointing. Talk to me a little bit about the Cardinals offense. We thought with Kyler Murray coming back, James Conner, Hollywood Brown, these guys would blow up. It's not. It hasn't been. He has not found his chemistry back with Hollywood Brown. I mean, what do we do moving forward with him?
I mean, John, you have to start him if you haven't. Like, that's the problem. I think it's not Garrett Wilson in my eyes, right? This is still a very, very good situation. You have Kyler Murray, you have, right, a good running back. Like, it's not like everybody's keying in on just you here. And Rondale Moore looks good. So, like, you have additional pieces along with Trey McBride, et cetera. So it's just unfortunate, man. It's just a lack of chemistry at this point in time that I think is going to end up ironing itself out. But it's been brutal, man. I mean, you look at what Hollywood Brown has really done over the last, couple weeks. It's been tough, man. You look at the last 3 weeks, he had Cleveland, he had 4 points. He had Atlanta, which is, again, another good defense, 3 points. And Houston's not a bad defense. I think they're underrated. So, John, it also factors into the teams they're playing. Now, flash ahead. They have the Rams. They're at Pittsburgh, bye. Then they have the San Francisco. So that's tough. All of that's fairly tough. But then it's Chicago, which is interesting. And then it's Philly. So, John, it's kind of the blessing and the curse because many of those teams have very good defenses. But in order for them to stay in the game, they're going to need to throw the ball. So it's not like it's a running back to where, man, you know that their front seven is just dominant and you're fucked. So for this, it's a little bit different. So, man, for me, as an owner of Marquise Brown, I'm going to end up staying in the flames with him because I think something good is going to happen with the game scripts that are going to be coming down the way. But it's risky and it's tough. It's really tough.
I'm with you on that, man. AJ Brown, my boy, I just traded for him, man. I just pulled off a beautiful trade. It was a very fair trade. In fact, the guys that I gave this player who was almost out of the playoffs, being the highest point guy this week because of the guys I gave him. And then he gives me AJ Brown and gives me 1 point. Wow, that's great. But we all know AJ Brown. He might be the best receiver in the game, currently active right now. We know he's a damn beast. He's going to be fine. But I got to pair him back up with Jalen Hurts. I have to stack again, which took me to the Super Bowl last year. So, oh no, I didn't make it to the Super Bowl, the semifinals. My bad. Okay. I'm not bitter, though. Deontay Johnson, another tough one. We talked about the Steelers' chances here. He only had 2 points. Stephon Diggs, what happened here, man? 4 catches, 27 yards, and a fumble.
I mean, honestly, man, Josh Allen he was throwing the ball all over the place. And what I mean by that is to other people. It wasn't Gabe Davis, I can tell you that much, but it was Khalil Shakur. It was Dalton Kincaid. It was James Cook. It was, right? And he tried the 8 targets, right, for Stephon Diggs. But, man, it was tough sledding. I mean, a couple guys were commenting on our YouTube page, John, and they were like, hey, I'm actually nervous for Stephon Diggs because, I was sitting here saying he's a must start every week. Well, when you go against Sauce Gardner, it can happen. It can happen. Yeah. And I'm still in the flames with Diggs every week. I think you're nuts to even remotely sit him because he's unsittable in my eyes, truly unsittable. Same thing with AJ Brown. Sometimes they just have shit weeks. So for me, man, 8 targets still, right? It was a tough sledding against that of a dominant Jets defense. So he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Let's talk about some of these guys who were on fire, though. Giants defense. You just wrote Giants D huge across the screen here. Wow. What happened with the Giants here, man? Are you kidding me? Tommy DeVito, let's throw him in there while we're at it. 246 and 3 touchdowns for fucking Danny DeVito. 20 points out of him. Talk to me about the Giants, man. What's happening?
You ready? You ready to hear what the Giants did on defense against the Commanders? By the way, the Commanders have the #1 passing quarterback with the highest yards in the NFL. Okay, that Giants defense, sure. 1 special teams forced fumble, 1 defensive touchdown, 2 fumble recoveries, 3 interceptions, 4 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles. John, unfreaking believable. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody. And hats off to the Giants. You've been getting shit on all year. Good for you guys. Good for you.
Good for you. They scored more points on defense in this game, I think, than they had in any other game on offense, by the way.
Dude, and John, to your point, Tommy DeVito, dude, looked good. He looked good. Instead of Danny Pennies, I'm not calling him Danny Dimes because he ain't dropping dimes for shit. Danny Pennies over there never looked that good this year. Last year, sure. Mm-hmm. This year, absolutely not. Dude, Tommy DeVito is a guy that could be serviceable. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say he's the next coming. No fucking way. But what I'm telling you is this dude played his ass off, and he's something to be proud of, man. 20.5 fantasy points, to your point, 246 yards, 3 tutties. Well done, man.
I don't know what else to say about it. I still think you can't start anybody in this team except for Saquon. I'm still holding true to that. I really do. But could be interesting if Darren Waller does get healthy and come back to have a big dump off short, yardage target like that. He could see a lot of targets with good old Danny DeVito in there.
Could.
All right. Jaylen Warren, we talked about it. I feel like he's kind of our secret champion together, Frankie, because we've been talking about him in the offseason. Yeah. Everything that we talked about is coming to fruition with him. 129 rush yards, 3 catches for 16 yards, a rushing touchdown, 25 points out of Jaylen Warren. We talked about him already. We're loving him moving forward, especially with the schedule. Gus Edwards, we talked about that as well. 2 rushing touchdowns out of Gus Edwards. Based on the schedule moving forward, especially this week, fire his ass up. If you don't need Gus Edwards, great trade target, man. Great guy to trade for or to trade away, even if you don't need him. He's just kind of one of those guys right now that he's in a sweet spot and you got to take advantage. Devin Singletary, big game out of him again, man. Look at this guy breathing life into himself here.
Start.
Yes.
That was
112 rushing yards. Yeah, that was one of your starts of the week, Frank. Great call. Let me ask you this about Devin Singletary. It looks like Dameon Pierce is going to be coming back here. Could be this week. What is that going to do? Are they going to keep riding the hot hand with Singletary? Is it going to be a split backfield? I mean, what do you think is going to be going on with having both of them in there?
I think they're going to still ride. I think you're crazy not to ride Devin Singletary. Dameon Pierce has not been even remotely as efficient as what Devin Singletary has been in the 2 games that he's been the bell cow. So for me, man, I think you ride Devin Singletary while you're also peppering in some of Dameon Pierce a bit. I don't think Devin Singletary is going to take the full load anymore. They're going to do more of a tandem, but I think it could be like a 65-35 or a 60-40 split type of thing. I mean, John, you're looking at Devin Singletary this past week. I mean, it's pretty incredible. 22 carries, 112 yards, a touchdown, and he's, catching the balls out of the backfield as well. 2 for 2, 2 receptions, 2 targets for 6 yards. John, back-to-back weeks of 20 points is nothing short of great, especially when you're playing the Bengals and then Cardinals. Man, he's been on fire.
Yeah, he really has, man. Calvin Ridley. Yeah, I knew this is so sweet, Frankie, that this happened. You literally hit on every single start and sit that you had last week, all of them, except for Calvin Ridley, your champion. I laughed when you said it. I said, "Oh man, you put your neck out there. This guy could pop off for 2 tutties and prove you wrong." Sure as shit, he did. Calvin Ridley had a game. Talk about your boy and how he made you feel.
I mean, John, Zay Jones comes back. It's like rubbing the genie bottle, baby. It's like, hey man, when I'm here, when Zay's back, something happens to Calvin Ridley and he goes fucking Batman mode. He ended up having 9 targets, 7 receptions, 103 yards, not 1 touchdown, but 2, Johnny. He ended up having 28.6 fantasy points in half PPR. I mean, it was incredible. It was incredible. And Trevor Lawrence was looking for him at any and all opportunity. And so for me, man, I think it sounds ridiculous, but if Zay Jones is on the field, expect Calvin Ridley to ball out. And we were talking about why. Like, it can't just be a coincidence. It widens the field. It widens the field more because now Zay Jones can and is shown to take the top off and do very good in running medium routes. Christian Kirk is a blow the top off the coverage kind of receiver. He always has been. And now you layer in Calvin Ridley. They have their team back. They have all 3 of their guys. So now it's very difficult just to key in on one guy or even shade some of the defense to that of Calvin Ridley, because now, as I said, Zay Jones widens that field. So for me, man, if Zay Jones is in the lineup, I know it sounds crazy. If he's playing, you have to fire up Calvin Ridley. It's the guy going forward.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. And that makes sense when you say that. When they get the band back together, there's a reason they have these particular players to run their particular offense. And I think that's absolutely right. I think if you can distract the safety a bit with Zay Jones, it does leave Calvin Ridley open for intermediate and longer, ins and outs and, comebacks and things. I think it just leaves him more open in the field. You're right, man. But yeah, we learned 2 lessons. Number 1, when Zay Jones is on the field, start Calvin Ridley.
Just start.
And number 2, never include Calvin Ridley in a start-sit conversation whatsoever.
And if I'm sitting him, you need to start him. That's what's happening.
That's exactly right. Everyone else Frankie talks about, listen to every goddamn word he says. But when it comes to Calvin Ridley, his own champion, yeah, that's funny, man. All right, let's move on here. Tank Dell, your boy. Man, we've been on his ass this year. Talk about Tank Dell. How good.
John, not just how good, he's been sensational. Tank Dell, John, went nuclear again. By the way, he is number 15 receiver in half PPR on the year. Number 15. This rookie here. He was targeted 10 times. He caught 8 of them for 149 yards and 1 touchdown, John. He is unbelievable. The last 3 games, 27.6, 15.9, 25.9. John, and what makes it even sweeter is he has the Jacksonville Jags, he has Denver, then he has a tough matchup with the Jets, but then it's Tennessee, Cleveland, which is tough, and then Tennessee again. Majority of those games are as a very favorable matchup. Tank Dell is very interesting moving forward, guys.
So they've got Tennessee twice in the fantasy playoffs. Is that what you're saying?
They do for the Super Bowl and for first week.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Tank Dell, dare I say, early on here, could he be a league winner? That's possible, man. That's very possible. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. I love it, man. I love it. Khalil Shakir. Okay, great game. 3 catches, 115 yards, touchdown, bomb touchdown, 21 points. We talked about Gabe Davis, how you can't play Gabe Davis. I mean, goose egged again. I mean, what are you going to do? He's out there doing cardio. He's a great blocker. Great.
It's a great job for James Cook.
Too bad it doesn't help you in fantasy at all. Is Khalil Shakir, is he fantasy relevant, or is it just kind of a dart throw? It feels like a dart throw to me.
It's a dart throw. But it's like one of those to where you're kind of like opening up one eye and kind of throwing it like that. You know, it's kind of like you're fucked up and had too many beers and you're staring around and it's like, I'm going to throw it. And you kind of might get it. That's Khalil Shakir. And I say that because, John, the last 5 weeks, 12.2, 7.7, 2.9, 21. So, I mean, it's not terrible. It's not terrible, but it's not good. So it's kind of like, it's a little bit better than boom bust, but it's not really that much better. So yeah, it is what it is.
All right. I'll take that into consideration. Here's 2 guys here. I want to see if you can just, number one, fill us in and who the fuck these guys are, number one, and give us an idea of these are guys that we need to have on our teams and can play. Josh Oliver, 4 for 4, 47 yards and a touchdown, 13 points. Stone Smart. Okay. Stone Smart. Hippie parents love that. 1 catch, 51 yards and a touchdown, 13 points. Obviously, these guys just kind of, the stars and the moons aligned and caught some fire here. Are these guys that you can do anything with?
Actually, Josh Oliver is interesting. So, guys, for those of you who don't know, Josh Oliver was the guy from Baltimore who was back up with that of, it was actually Hayden Hurst and that of Mark Andrews, and he was a part of that. He worked a little bit as a fullback as well, but mostly what played at the tight end spot. Very serviceable guy. Ended up getting signed to go to the Minnesota Vikings. 100% not a guy you can start. No question about it. You do not start him because TJ Hawkinson is every bit and piece of the man. He is him. He's the Hemi Award, TJ Hawkinson. John, Stone Smart, 0% chance you fire up Mr. Boulder over there, right? So you just don't do it, right? It's because Gerald Everett was out. I'm drawing a blank on the backup. It begins with a P, Purdum or something like that. Whatever. I can't even pronounce it, right? At this point, they're back at tight end. What was it?
Are you talking about the Chargers?
Yeah.
Yeah, Donald Parham.
Thank you. Parham. Yeah, so he is the guy. Stone Smart had one play, 1 catch, 51 yards, and a touchdown, baby. Lightning hit a bottle there.
I feel like in this outfit, I'm in Arizona, I'm in the mountains, I'm in the Red Rocks. That's like the persona I'm taking on right now. Stone Smart. Like, hey man, how you doing? Good. I'm smart. Stone Smart.
I'm stoned. I'm stoned.
You're stoned, all right. That's what you are. All right, man. Let's check out these Thursday games. We got Thanksgiving games here. We got turkey games. Oh yeah, we gotta love our Detroit Lions and our Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving, man. All right, so the first game, the early game, Thanksgiving, we got Green Bay at Detroit. Detroit's favored by 7.5. The over-under's 45.5. These Detroit Lions are on fire, man. We saw an amazing comeback. Really the first bad game we've seen Jared Goff have.
Yeah.
And ended up coming across and coming through. Jahmyr Gibbs, once again, goddamn beast. They found a balance, I think, now. And I think David Montgomery being out like that and giving Jahmyr Gibbs just the chance and the rock, now they're like, oh shit, we've got two really good running backs. I think they found a way to use them both and have them both deliver. Those guys were firing up, obviously. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Can we talk about him for a second? How good he is?
Brilliant.
He's excellent. He is a young, I heard somebody compare him earlier today, and I thought it was just, it was brilliant. He's a young Keenan Allen. He's a young Keenan Allen. How good is that? He's not flying down the field. He's not typically going to catch bombs.
So good.
He's catching the intermediate catches, getting him in space. He's excellent, man. Amon-Ra St. Brown, double digits every single game in fantasy this year. Every single one.
That's unbelievable. That's almost impossible, actually.
A.J. Brown had 1 point last night, or on Monday night. A.J. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown, double digits every goddamn week. Yeah, put in the bank. Man. Okay, so we're starting all those guys. Anybody else on the Lions that you think may have some? Sam Laporta's had some down weeks here. I mean, is this a guy that you want to roll out in this team?
For me, John, yeah. For me, I'm definitely firing up Sam Laporta. It's just one of those guys that I'm willing to put my neck out. And also with the tight end landscape, it's really depleted. I mean, you see, right, Mark Andrews down. Travis Kelce's play level is down. You also have Darren Waller out. It's just across the board, man. Like, random guys are popping off. I mean, Luke Musgrave, right, who is another very promising rookie, is now down. So for me, man, absolutely, I'm firing up Sam Laporta. I know his floor. His floor, John, is roughly 6 points in FPPR. I'm okay with that. I'll take that from a tight end. And if it's even, and be in that realm, I don't need 15 points from him and expect that every week. However, if it happens, it's great. So for me, I'm absolutely firing up Sam Laporta.
Okay, excellent. Anybody else in the Lions that you're thinking about here? Anybody else make sense?
No, not at this point in time. No.
All right. What about the Packers? This is much more difficult here. The one bright spot that I think they have, it plays right into the teeth of this Lions defense with their running game. And man, that sounds rough to me. I mean, we talked about A.J. Dillon a little bit, but what do you think about this Green Bay offense? What are we starting here?
John, there's one guy that I'm like ready to say, yeah, we're going to fire him up. And it's Jayden Reed. It is another rookie. And the reason being is because they have found a way to not only get him involved in the passing game, which Jordan Love seems to be looking at him more often than Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, like kind of across the board. And so what he's done, John, and I'm just looking at some of the stats here. Let's just look at the last since bye week, right? Week 6, was their bye week. Week 7, he had 3 receptions, 21 yards, and a touchdown. He ended up having, almost 10 points. Week 8, he had 4 receptions, 83 yards. Ended up having 10.3 points. Against the Rams, he had 5.5 points. So he had 21 yards rushing. He ended up having 19 yards receiving and 3 receptions. And then here is where he starts getting involved. Last week against Pittsburgh, he had 5 receptions, 84 yards, and a receiving touchdown. And this past week, John, was very much so more rushing. He ended up having 3 carries for 46 yards rushing. He had 4 receptions for 46 yards receiving, and he also had a rushing touchdown. So, John, what I'm saying is they are now utilizing this guy because from a rushing perspective, now that Aaron Jones is down, and they're using him like what they did with Mecole Hardman at the Chiefs in these sweep routes, right? And so that's why this guy is so fucking fascinating to me, because it almost neutralizes some of the best part of that of the Detroit defense, which, to your point, is going to be between the tackles. So that's why this guy, man, outside of the targets, and yeah, he's not going to have potentially 100 points. He's not a Tank Dell, right? That's not what we're talking about, but he has serious upside due to his utility. So for me, man, that's why I like Jayden Reed this week in a big game on a national televised on Thanksgiving.
He feels like a better version of Kadarius Toney to me.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's a great call.
Okay. I was going to say Deebo Samuel, but nah,
Debo's
just,
yet.
He's his own beast.
Yeah.
Man. He's too big. I like that call, man. What about Jordan Love? How you thinking about him in this game? He's gonna have to throw the ball. Detroit's gonna score.
He's going to have to throw the ball. He has to throw the ball, John. And Jordan Love has played pretty darn well over the last 2 weeks. Played against a tough defense in Pittsburgh, 21 points. Played against the Chargers, not as good of a defense, right? But still had 20 points. So for me, man, I mean, I look back to, what he did against the last time they played Detroit. He ended up having 15 points, right? He ended up throwing for 246 yards. He had 1 rushing touchdown, 1 passing touchdown. The problem was Detroit got to him. Aiden Hutchinson wrecked his ass. He ended up having 5 sacks. So, it's one of those things to where I see him being around floor, John, absolute floor, 12 points. I see his ceiling being around that of 22. So that's where I kind of feel Jordan Love for this week as well.
Yeah, I think you could play him this week. I think he's maybe a sneaky streamer this week. I really do. Because I do think that they're definitely going to be in a position where they're going to have to throw the ball. And he's got the support to do it. I mean, Christian Watson finally scored a touchdound. We finally got to see him in the red zone, which I dropped him last week. We talked about it. I had to drop him. I had to get rid of somebody. Yeah. And like you said, Jaden Reed really coming on. You still have Romeo Doubs in there. He got in the end zone as well last week. So I think that, if Musgrave can play, I don't know what his status looks like, but if he can, he's got the tools and the weapons to be able to do it. So I think primetime game, I guess you can call it primetime. It's Thanksgiving game. I think Jordan Love is a sneaky start this week. And we talked about Dillon already. Dillon is, yes, you can start him. He's a starting running back, but don't expect a whole lot here.
It's tough. It's a tough start.
Yeah.
But he's a starting running back. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, let's move on to the second game here on Thanksgiving. We've got the Washington Manders, the Commanders at the Dallas Cowboys. Woo! Favored by 11 here are the Cowboys, 48.5 over under. All right. I think we know what's up with Dallas. I think is there anybody we're not starting for Dallas at this point right now?
No. I mean, honestly, people are firing up Michael Gallup, and I can't blame them either. So literally fire him up. Fire him up?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Commanders, what are we doing here? This is going to be rough.
The Commanders just got their shit pushed by the Giants. Okay. Yeah. Now they're going to Dallas. This is not going to be good, John. The only one that I could see being somewhat interesting, in my personal opinion, I think one of the receivers are going to have a decent game. Don't know which one. One of them are going to be serviceable, right? I actually am still interested to see Brian Robinson. And I say that I think he's going to get destroyed on the ground. I think it's going to be his receiving. With Antonio Gibson out, he's been going crazy, man, from a reception perspective. So I really think that could provide a nice floor. I'm not saying, guys, a 20-point game for Brian Robinson, but what I'm saying is it in a PPR or something like that, full point per reception? I absolutely could see him being a flex piece here because the Manders are going to be down. They're going to be super pressured with Micah Parsons coming off the edge. So they're going to have to get rid of the ball very, very quickly, which means that it could be check down Charlie time all fucking day. They did it against the Giants, John. I can't even imagine what they're going to do with that against Dallas. That's why I know it sounds crazy, but I'm not super high on it, but I'm interested to see what Brian Robinson does from a receiving perspective.
Well, I can't argue with you. You had him as a start of the week last week. He was on the cover of our episode last week, and he delivered, man. I mean, did 16 points and a half PPR. What's beautiful about Brian Robinson, you're absolutely right. These last 2 weeks without Antonio Gibson, 6 catches on 6 targets. Last week, 7 catches on 9 targets.
No.
If he can get 9 targets out of the backfield from a quarterback who is serviceable, who is going to have to get rid of the ball quickly because of this pass rush, he could be pretty sneaky. You're right. He could also get shut down to absolutely nothing with 20 yards.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah, it's absolutely possible. But I do like it. With the running back landscape the way it is, you've got him as your RB2, RB3. I think you can play him this week. I like that. What about Sam Howell? How you feeling about him? You going to be howling at the moon or is
no, man. I mean, I think that what he's done this year has been nothing short of incredible. He's absolutely played to a top tier level, top 12 quarterback in my eyes, for sure. This is not by any way, shape, or form the defense that I want to be playing against right now. After that showing against the Giants, you could lean on him because you know the game script's going to be so bad. The problem is with if your league takes away points for sacks, and he had 5 sacks against him for the Giants, I can't even imagine what's going to happen against the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh God, man, when you put it that way, that sounds really rough. Jesus. Okay, sounds good. We'll move on from the Commanders here, man. I feel bad for Sam Howell right now. All right, let's look at the Thursday night game. All right, let's go. Let's get a little CMC on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I like that. We got the 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks. 49ers are favored by only 7. That's actually interesting there. That's really, really interesting. Over under 43.5. Not looking at a ton of scoring here. This one's difficult. This is a difficult matchup here. Talk about the 49ers. Are you starting everybody basically for the 49ers?
100%.
I mean, you start
100%.
everybody, right? Brandon Ayuk has been nothing short of excellent and just gorgeous. He's wonderful. Run, throw the ball deep, play action. Brandon Ayuk, 50 yards every goddamn time. Yeah, I mean, every single time. It's great. Okay. Everybody's got those guys. They're firing them up anyway. Seattle. This is where things get difficult. Seattle Seahawks, you got a banged up Geno Smith. They're saying they're saying it's looking like he's going to play. It is still questionable. It's in a day. He's going to be banged up going against the San Francisco defense. You've got Zach Charbonnet, rookie running back. He's going to be carrying the load against this defense. Tyler Lockett's been banged up. What are we doing with these Seattle assets, man? We just talked about earlier how difficult this schedule is. And they've got, did we say it's 49ers, Dallas 49ers back to 3 games in a row? Okay. What do we do here, man? Give us some advice. We got these players.
Yeah. I mean, John, you got to fire up DK. You have to. He's strong enough. He's fast enough. He can handle the coverage that Jimmy Ward will probably be draping all over him. He can handle it. On top of it, the 49ers starting superstar safety is now out, right, with an ACL tear. So that is not good. And which even crazier, if you guys, those listening and watching, you get a chance, look at Rashad White put the move on this safety, and he tore his ACL because of it. It was insane. It was insane. So, and I love this guy, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. He's the dude with the long hair. He's the Hawaiian or Pacific Asian dude. Incredible. But I definitely think you can start up DK Metcalf. I think one of the other two are going to pop. And I mean pop, I mean like 7 to 10 points. Jackson Smith and Jigba is very interesting because if they start getting pressured very quickly, Geno Smith's going to not be throwing the ball deep. Or if Geno Smith is hurt, Drew Lock. So Drew Lock comes in, John, medium routes, short routes, game manager. That's where Jackson Smith and Jigba could thrive against this team. And in comparison, Tyler Lockett, what we've seen is the guy that's taken the medium and deep routes and is always just figuring out a way how to catch the ball and make a move and keep the sticks moving. So one of the other two are going to pop. I'm relying on DK for a high floor, right? That's why I'm starting DK. One of the others are going to be a high ceiling. Not really sure what it is, or they both could be a bust. But I like one of them to also be a compliment to DK.
You really got me thinking there about JSN with this upcoming schedule. I think that you could get him for pretty much nothing from somebody.
Yeah.
And I think it might be interesting because they do have the Cowboys Niners back to back here in these next 3 games. You might be onto something there that the slot player is kind of the guy who could eat in that good, against those defenses, getting rid of the ball quickly, avoiding the pass rush, getting a guy into space. That's really interesting, man. I might put some feelers out there and just see if I could throw, JSN on my bench this week for peanuts, hopefully. And if he does do that in this game, then that bodes well for the next 2 moving forward, that they're going to have to do that with Geno. So I like that, man. Good call there. Anybody else on this Seattle team or this game that you think we should look at?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. Let's look at what do we have here? The Friday game. Whoa, Black Friday. Holy shit. What? They couldn't get a team that has black colors for Black Friday.
I know. That would have been cool.
That's like, I'm a marketing guy. I'm an advertising guy. Just that's the stuff I see. It couldn't have been the Raiders. They could have had a blackout on Black Friday in the stadium.
Or the Ravens. That would have been cool.
The Ravens? Sure. Yeah, sure. All right. Anyway, the Dolphins, Miami Dolphins at the New York Jets. Dolphins are favored by 10 in this round, in this match here, 41-point over-under. I think they're projecting all of those points to go from the Dolphins. All right, man. Well, let's talk about it here. Dolphins and Jets. You got the Dolphins, which is a very cool, exciting offense, playing a very exciting defense and zero offense. So what do we think is going to happen here, man? What's going on with the Dolphins?
I mean, John, this is not going to be, in my personal opinion, I think early on, the Jets defense is going to keep them somewhat at bay. I mean, I think Tyreek's still going to be, ball out and everything. But I'm telling you, man, this Jets defense is top tier, top class. The problem is they're going to be on the field all day. So look at the second half. Look towards the second half of the game to where we start seeing the Dolphins begin to pull away. It's obviously you're starting up Jaden Waddle. You're starting up Tyreek Hill. You're starting up, right, Raheem Mostert if he's playing, or, and Devon Achane, man, that's a 50-50. You're going to have to monitor that throughout the week. If he ends up playing on Friday, yeah, you probably want to fire him up as well. But yeah, man, I mean, this should be a pretty badass beating for sure. For sure.
Yeah, it seems like it. Is there anybody except for Breece Hall that you're willing to start on the Jets?
No, man. I mean, right? Other than Breece, Tyler Conklin could be really interesting as well for a streaming tight end. Guys, with what Tim Boyle has shown when he played at Detroit, he actually did some good work with the tight ends. Actually, to TJ Hawkinson when he was there years ago. So for me, man, I mean, if there's one other guy, it would maybe be that of Tyler Conklin. I could see him having 4 receptions on 6 targets for like 45 yards or something like that.
My start of the week for the Jets this week has been their highest scorer all year, and that's Greg Zuerlein, the kicker.
Greg the leg, baby.
Hey, this is the first year in fantasy that I think I have not streamed a kicker. I have literally started Greg Zuerlein every single week. I'm like, oh, good. The Jets got 9 points. Sick. 3 field goals. Because that's exactly what it is. And they're long field goals because they can't get anywhere near the goddamn end zone, He's been my best player in fantasy all year.
That's the best. That's how I felt with the Browns kicker, Dustin Hopkins. It just feels like, hey, bring it on, baby. Set it and forget it,
Bring it on. We got a great defense with a really bad offense. Give me the kicker.
And John, real quick too, before we shift, guys, a bet that really could be interesting, right, to dive into is look at the tees. We could look at and end up doing Dallas -5 and the 49ers -1.
Oh my God.
Dallas -5 against the Commanders at home and 49ers -1 at Seattle with a banged up Geno Smith, no Kenneth Walker Jr., and walking out in a must-win game for the NFC. Just saying.
That
could be interesting.
That's franking it up. That's franking it up, baby.
You got to frank it up,
baby.
Frank it up. Frank it up.
Yeah.
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 That's franking it up, man. That's a cheat code bet right there is what that is. That's a cheat code bet.
Slap 50 on it, baby.
All right, man, let's look at some hit it's and quit it's for the Sunday games, baby. All right, Frankie, let's talk about your Tier 1, 12 to 16 team leagues. Who are the guys that are your top starts this week, man? Lay it out for me.
So, John, the number one guy that I'm checking out, again, as long as he's healthy, everything came back and tested good on his back and everything like that, I'm rocking out and rolling with Ramondre Stevenson at the New York Giants. Guys, what Ramondre Stevenson has done over the last 3-4 weeks has been incredible. He's been in double digits every week but one in the last 4 weeks. He's put up 15 points against that of the Vegas Raiders. Buffalo, he put up 11.5. Miami, he put up 6, but had a huge bounce back and put up 22.9 against Washington, and then ended up finishing off 11.7 points against that of the Colts. And so walking into a bye week, coming out healthy, John, with the turmoil that's happening with Mac Jones and Blake Zappi and all this other bullshit going on with, fuck Bill Belichick. Is he even going to be here? Who knows? Well, you know what I do know? They're going to hand the ball off to that of Ramondre Stevenson. They might even do a little bit of tap dancing with him on the sidelines by passing him a little bit of routes out there. So I really like Ramondre Stevenson this week against that of the Giants.
The most rushing attempts was the last game they played, week 10 versus Indianapolis. 20 rushing attempts. That's the most he's had all season. I think they're going to move more towards running the ball. You know, getting him these targets out of the backfield in the past. Yeah, I mean, the past 5 weeks, 6 targets, 6, 4, 6, 5. Keep that coming. Keep that coming. Keep giving him the targets. Get him 6 targets. Get him, 15 to 20 carries. That's the Ramondre we all drafted and hoped for. It just took us quite a while to get there. But they know the situation. They know they're fucked with quarterback right now. So they're going to have to lean on their most talented players. Ramondre's that guy. I love it, man. Great start against the Giants. Next week against the Chargers, also a very good matchup for Ramondre. At Pittsburgh, you can run on Pittsburgh. Yes, totally. It's a very good defense, but you can run on them. So Ramondre does have a good matchup there. I mean, really, his schedule, leaving here, Giants, Chargers, Steelers, Kansas City. Tough one to run against for sure. But then you're ending the year with Denver and Buffalo. You can run on these teams, man.
Definitely.
Yeah. You can run on these teams. And not only that, even I think Ramondre is getting to a place now where he's almost game script proof because of his role in the offense, because they have to throw to him as well. So he doesn't leave the field really when they have to throw the ball. I actually like Ramondre, I think, to close strong for the season this year.
Love it. John, number 2, we're staying in the flames here, man, with Jaylen Warren. I mean, it's impossible not to start him with the production. John, the biggest flaw that the Steelers did last week, he had 9 carries. Okay, he had 9 carries for 129 yards and a touchdown. Why in the living hell did Matt Canada get away from feeding him the ball? Jaylen Warren, the Browns did not have an answer for this guy. They've had an answer for everybody else in the entire NFL, pretty much the entire year. They couldn't figure this guy out. He was that good. And so for me, man, him going into Cincinnati, brand new OC, brand new look. They're pissed off as all shit. They're walking into another divisional game. No Joe Burrow. I think they're going to rely on Jaylen Warren really heavy, as well as that of a bit of Najee Harris. But for me, man, fire up Jaylen Warren and enjoy the reward.
Jaylen Warren's last 3 games against very good running defenses. We're talking Tennessee, Green Bay, Cleveland. These are all very good rushing defenses. He was the running back 15, running back 7, running back 2. He's the running back 23 on the season. Ramondre's the running back 24 on the season. That's where we're at with him right now. He's almost a must start. He's a very, very startable piece at this point. I love it, man. At Cincinnati, Arizona, New England, Indy, Cincinnati, Seattle. That's how Jaylen Warren ends your fantasy season.
That's good.
That's nice. That's very, very nice.
John, what's interesting, I'm going to go with the running back number 22 on the year here. So we just did 23. We did 24. We got to get in some 22. Deuce. I'm not taking a deuce on this guy. I'm going to go Jerome Ford, baby. We're going to go with the Browns, Jerome Ford at Denver. Jerome Ford, man, the last 3 weeks has had double-digit points in FPPR every single week. Against Seattle, that was his only, quote-unquote bust over the last 5 weeks because he ended up getting banged up. Before that, against the Colts, Sean, he had 18. Before that, against the San Francisco 49ers, he still had 10. So for me, man, going into a Denver defense that, yes, has improved. Absolutely has improved, but more so on the passing a defense than it has been from the rushing defense. And on top of that, John, DTR at the helm is going to need some help, right? It just is what it is. So I see some check downs because DTR threw a fuckload of screens last week, right? And on top of it, they're going to leverage the running backs that they have. It's going to be Ford. It's going to be a heavy dose of Hunt. I like Ford this week. Fire his ass up.
I love it, man. I have zero argument. Let's show Jerome Ford moving forward. Also, wonderful schedule moving
Beautiful
forward for fantasy. Beautiful schedule here. At Denver, Rams, Jacksonville, Chicago, Houston, and then your Super Bowl will be the Jets. That one will be tough.
That will be tough.
Yeah, I mean, leading up to that, fantastic, man. Fantastic.
John, I'm going to go with your boy here. The last one for the tier 1, the 12 to 16 man. I'm going to go with Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice is certainly a risk compared to the other guys. But guys, here's the reason that I like Rashee Rice is that he has had, outside of in the last 4 games, he's had 6 targets, 5 targets, 2 targets, and then he ended up having 5 again. John, he's had 72 yards, 60 yards, 56 yards, 17, and 42. He's absolutely the go-to guy outside of that of Travis Kelce. Now, Kadarius Toney's starting to get involved a little bit more and things like that, but it truly is Rashee Rice. And on top of it, man, with his schedule, right, they're playing Vegas right now. And so Vegas actually had Max Crosby is quietly, very quietly, right up there with Myles Garrett and right up there with TJ Watt for Defensive Player of the Year. That is how good this dude has been playing. He doesn't have as many sacks. Actually, I believe he's tied with Myles Garrett on sacks, but he has more pressures. He has more tackles for losses, things like that. So when you have Patrick Mahomes that's playing against this type of dude, quick routes. And that's what Rashee Rice does very well. So for me, man, I like him this week, building off of a big game against that of Philly. They're going to be pissed off going against a rival. I see Patrick Mahomes throwing up 300 yards this week and Rashee Rice being a part of that.
I love that, man. I see Rashee Rice and Justin Watson really emerging out of this offense. They're getting targeted by Patrick Mahomes. And you had, oh my God, I was crying laughing. The MVS, he finally gets off the treadmill and gets a target.
Those are right here.
And he's probably like, hey man, I've been sprinting towards the end zone on the past 10 plays and I think I'm open. Throws him one and just off the fingertips, man. That's brutal.
To lose the game. You lost the game.
To lose the game. I know. Now they're like, you know what? Get your ass back on that treadmill. You're going to be running routes and doing cardio next week.
That's right.
That's brutal, man. All right, let's get to your tier 2 guys here. Your 8 to 10 man leagues. Who are the guys you like here, buddy?
John, the first guy is risky. I'm going to outright say it. This is not a smash play. This is something that
Calvin
I'm just
Ridley?
Feeling. Yeah, right. This is something. Yeah, God, too soon. Fuck me, right? Dude, it's Derrick Henry. It's King Henry. Okay, this is a risk, and I'm going to outright say it. But here's the thing: they're playing against Carolina. All right. So the last few weeks they played against Tampa Bay, tough D to run against, and Jacksonville. You know, yeah, he had a shit week. It was what it was. This week is bounce back. They were at Tampa Bay. They were at Jacksonville. Now Carolina's coming to them. They're back home. And so Will Levis is going to be able to throw that ball pretty damn well to D-Hop and others, especially against Carolina. But more importantly, Derrick Henry has prime availability to destroy the Carolina Panthers this week. So again, it is a risk. I'm telling you, I'm going to start Derrick Henry. And I'm not recommending 100% you should, but I'm telling you it's a very good matchup for him to do so.
No, I think you have to start Derrick Henry. I mean, we're talking about the Carolina Panthers here, man.
Yeah.
That is the worst rush defense that's in the league. I think that's a no-brainer. Where you really have to worry about Derrick Henry is based on game script.
Yeah.
Because the moment they're down at all, I think he's going to disappear. Yeah, I think he's just gone. But pay attention to that. I do want to bring up, we're going to talk about in the next segment, but we're talking about Derrick Henry here. We might as well talk about him right now. The schedule for the playoffs does look nice.
Really nice.
It does look nice. Yeah, they've got Houston, Seattle, Houston. Now, that's a team that makes me a little nervous. Yes, you look at it and go, oh my God, smash schedule. He always destroys these guys. It could be interesting. I mean, Houston could come out, throw the ball, and go up top early in those games. Yeah. So it's a little bit scary. I had it on my great playoff schedules, but as I've been looking at that and thinking about it more, it makes me a little nervous that he could get game scripted out and just completely wasted there. So be wary of that. All right, who else you got, Frank?
John, we're going to go with Isaiah Pacheco against that of the Las Vegas Raiders. Dude is just running like an absolute nut job in a madhouse.
He looks great.
Looks awesome. And you know what's crazy to me, John, is the game last night, right? Because we record on Tuesday for this specific episode, right? But the Monday night game, when they played against the Eagles, that does not reflect his fantasy, right? He only had 9.6 points in fantasy and half PPR. John, he had 19 carries for 89 yards. and actually could have had a touchdown or maybe two, right? They were on the goal line a few times. They ended up deciding to pass the ball. It is what it is. It's Patrick Mahomes. Isaiah Pacheco looks amazing. So for me, man, running against this of the Vegas team, right, I think that this could be a big, big week, right? I think I could see him 70 yards, a touchdown, 3 receptions out of the backfield type of thing, getting you double digits. So I like Isaiah Pacheco this week.
Love him as well, man.
John, number 3 here on the tier 1, 8 to 10 man league, right? So, right, we're playing with top tier talent everywhere. John, I'm going to actually go with Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon has been really tough all year because it's been good, it's been bad, it's been in between. And then the last few weeks, man, ever since the bye week, 18.5, 15.3, 11.5, 18.5 against the Baltimore Ravens, right? And we're talking, that was the San Francisco 49ers, the Buffalo Bills, the Houston Texans, and the Baltimore Ravens. That's not a joke. And so now he's playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay? No Joe Burrow. Guess who they're going to be relying on? It's going to be Joe Mixon. And guess who they're going to be able to avoid? Is TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith on the outsides. So I see Joe Mixon running straight up the gut, right off the tackle, right off the guard, many, many times against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is going to be their success to win the game. Therefore, I'm rolling with Joe Mixon this week, man.
Yeah. And I'm sorry we didn't get to, it was kind of old news. It happened on the Thursday game. We didn't talk about, Joe Burrow being out for the season or Mark Andrews being banged up right now. But I mean, with the loss of Joe Burrow, they have to lean heavily on Joe Mixon. The only way that they're going to have a play action, be able to get the ball out safely, to some of these guys, to Jamar Chase, and some of these guys, is by utilizing and having the defense respect the run, utilizing Joe Mixon. I love it. Fire him up.
John, the last one, I'm actually going to shift gears a bit. And again, 8 to 10 man league, right? There could be, you might have Mark Andrews. You might have had, a couple of the other tight ends that maybe the Darren Waller that's been banged up, right? Et cetera. Zach Ertz, right? Things along those lines. Guys, I'm saying fire up Dalton Schultz. You're firing him up this week against that of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jags have absolutely a decent defense here, so it's going to be tough sledding. But where I think that this could be beneficial, John, is he is the cozy blanket for CJ Stroud. He's looking at him heavily in the red zone. And John, I mean, last week alone, he ended up having 10.2 points. Again, only 2 receptions, only 32 yards. He's rolling with him from a touchdown. He got a touchdown there. And it's what's interesting, John, I'm just looking at this over the last few weeks, right? If we look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, right? The last 7 weeks, not including the bye week, he has scored in 5 of them. 5 of them. John, he's also had 10 targets. He's had 7 targets, 5 targets, 11 targets, 6 targets. The dude is a target machine. If you are at risk or low on the tight end spectrum, knowing that this is a shorter, smaller league, knowing that there's players all over the place, trade for candidate, huge trade for candidate for Dalton Schultz, and is certainly a start as well.
I love it, man. Dalton Schultz has been an absolute beast this year. With the way tight ends have been, you find a guy like Dalton Schultz, it's gold. You're like, I'm so thankful. Oh, thank God I don't have to deal with tight end this year. It's great. Yeah, he's been good, man. Anything else on your starts and sits? Oh, we got your sits, baby.
Got to do the sits, baby.
We got the sits. Tell me who you don't like this week. Yeah.
John, first and foremost, Javonte Williams and any other running back on that Denver Broncos defense against that of the Cleveland Browns. I don't want to see them. And here's the other thing. I think they're going to be down. I could see them being down. Game script's going to be away from the running back situation. Javonte Williams is not going to be a guy that's catching the balls a lot out of the backfield. For me, I'm sitting Javonte Williams this week.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to roll out any Broncos this week, man, for sure.
Yeah. John, the next guy, actually, I'm going to lump 2 in together here. Justice Hill at the Chargers. I think we all can move past Justice Hill at this point. I had a couple people ask me, hey, is this a guy that I can still start or maybe flex out? I'm going to tell you right now, the answer is a hell no. Do not do it at this point in time. You got to wait to see if Keaton Mitchell or Gus Edwards ends up getting hurt at that point in time, then yes. But until that happens, no. Gus Edwards is dominating. Keaton Mitchell's the number 2. The second guy, John, that I mentioned that I was going to lump in together is Gabe Davis at Philly. This guy is 100% boom and bust. 100%. There's no in between with this cat. For me, I am not willing to risk against a good Philly defense that of rolling out Gabe Davis and what could be a must-start week for many people, including myself. I have Gabe Davis. I've played this fucking game all year with him, and I'm done playing this game. I am sitting Gabe Davis this week.
Okay, do you mean bust, boom, bust, boom, boom, bust, bust, boom, bust, bust, bust? Yes. That's what Gabe Davis is.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. And especially with the emergence of Kincaid and Khalil Shakur, right? Yeah, man, it's getting worse and worse by the week.
Yeah, it is. All right.
Now, John, there's one other guy that I had on here, and I don't know if he's a true sit. Okay, I want your opinion on this. I have him as a watch out, and I'll tell you who it is. It's Josh Jacobs against the Chiefs. Okay, usually I'm a Josh Jacobs fan, man. You know this. I'm a big Josh Jacobs guy. The problem is, John, is the last 2 weeks, he's had 11.7 points in half PPR, 5.6 points against that of the Miami Dolphins. Now you are at home against the Chiefs. And the reason why I'm saying I am not high on him, Chris Jones, that's the first reason. The second reason is Aiden O'Connell. Love the kid. I think he's a badass. I think he's a baller. He's not there yet. He's not good enough yet to where people are fearing his arm. It's not CJ Stroud, right? And so for me, man, that Chiefs defense is going to slowly start going like this. They can play one-on-one on the outside with Snead. We saw what Snead did to A.J. Brown. Who do you think is going to be lined up against Devontae Adams? Okay, so then now you're going to have, right, somebody over top of Myers. So that leaves open maybe the tight end, Michael Mayer, maybe Josh Jacobs. But again, starting Aiden O'Connell against this defense, I don't like it. And so for me, man, starting Josh Jacobs against this defense with Aiden O'Connell at the helm is what I meant to say, is something that I am not really high on. So for me, I'm not actually sure if it's a pure sit, but I'm saying it's a watch out because it's uncomfortable. What do you think?
I'm with you on that. I mean, we've got our buddy on YouTube. You know, shout out, is it Gabriel? I think it is.
Yeah.
Shout out to the guy who's always asking us to start sit decisions, and they're tough. They're very hard. So we appreciate that. But I know Josh Jacobs is one of his guys. He's got a handful of studs. Yeah. Every week he asks us, which of these studs do I sit? This guy needs to listen to this because I think you're right on that, man. And the other reason is that this game could get out of hand very fast.
Very quick.
Divisional game. This is a team that got beat up, by a rematch of the Super Bowl last year by the Philly team. They seem vulnerable in the AFC right now with some teams coming up. This team's going to come out and make a statement, and I think they're going to make a big example of this Raiders defense. And I don't think it's going to leave a lot of opportunity for Josh Jacobs. I really don't. He'll get some dump-offs early, but they're going to have to throw the ball. If they're not giving Devontae Adams 25 targets, I don't think they have a chance in this game.
Totally.
So I like it, man. I'm with you 100% on that, especially when you can't do that against Miami. Same situation.
Right.
You're getting beat. Josh Jacobs is just he's just ruled out of the game because of, the game script. With the Jets, that was a great defense. He ran the ball 27 times. That's crazy. But he's not going to get that option against KC. I think it is a very good defense that is going to find ways to bottle him up. Yeah. Good call, man. All right. Any other sits for us, brother?
That's all. They're wrapping up the hit it's and quit it's, baby.
That's it. I love it, man. I think we're good for today, Frankie. We've got some things we're going to get with you guys for next week. Stay tuned next week. We're going to be really focusing on the schedules for the playoffs and the end of the season. We're going to look and we're going to give you some players that have great schedules moving forward. We're going to look at some players, some defenses that you should be looking at for the playoffs. Don't forget about that. You got to plan ahead for that sometimes. You're one of those teams, you might have the first round bye. Plan out your defenses, pick up an extra one, put it on there. We'll talk about some of the teams that have great matchups there and who you should be looking at. Quarterback streaming in the playoffs, tight end streaming in the playoffs. I love this time of year, man. This is where throw everything out. What have you done for me lately, season?
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? I don't give a shit where I drafted you. I don't care if you just came off the couch last week and you're playing with a team. I might start you on my team if you can win my championship for me. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Where can everybody find us on social media, Frankie?
Johnny, you guys can find us on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, and at Frankly Fantasy Football, right? So guys, continue to smash that bell button, right? Get those notifications. We appreciate it. You guys, since we have started just saying, hey, please subscribe, we have added an additional 70 subscribers in the last 2 weeks. You guys, we love you. Keep it up. Welcome to the Frankly family, baby. And one other thing, John, this is the pre-Thanksgiving episode. I want to just say to all of those that listen, to all of those that tune in, to all of those that are subscribing, thank you. We are so thankful for you guys, right? Like, we've done this, John, now for this our third year, you know, and it was something that we did for fun. And guys, as of late, we are now over 20,000 views, like, which is so cool. So guys, we're so thankful for you. Happy Thanksgiving, and have one hell of a Thanksgiving weekend.
Let me tell you what, Frankie, I'm thankful for you, my brother. I am thankful for you, man. There's no one else I'd rather do this with. And it's like peanut butter and jelly. You know what I mean? It just kind of, something about it works, man. You know, I'm thankful for you, brother. Thank you, man. And you know what? I'm thankful for all of you out there listening and watching. Thank you so much. Please subscribe on YouTube at Frankly Fantasy Football. Watch our beautiful faces. Have a wonderful week. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your families. Enjoy your weird uncle who's a Trump fan and just goes on and on about it. It's going to be a blast. May the fantasy gods smile upon you. Bye.